It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, getting a bone, getting high, getting shook. I'll show you folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's easy to do one night stands. Try playing a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome back to another installment of the 2007 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We're here from Kansas. It's race number 17 of 36, the Tropicana 400, as we take to some intermediate action here on the high banks in the somewhat Midwest, I suppose, as we get set to roll here today, as we take you to your racetrack for your starting lineup in tonight's race, as John Andretti in the 21 car going to take pole position here tonight. He starts from the first spot as Jimmy Johnson will join him on the front row. Second place, that's going to be the 48, of course. Third goes to the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. as Clint Boyer sits behind him in fourth. Fifth place, that'll be Casey Mears and Elliott Sadler in the sixth position. Seventh place goes to DJ Kennington, and Ryan Newman will be in eighth. Ninth goes to Scott Riggs. 10th place will be Eric Norris in the 51 car nice qualifying. Bobby East will start in 11th. And 12th place, that goes to David Rudiman in the 98 car. 13th, that'll be Justin Allgaier in the 02. Martin Truex Jr. sits in 14th. 15th will be Robbie Gordon. And 16th place, that'll be Bobby Labonte in the number 18. 17th, Carl Edwards, the number 19 behind his teammate. And the 18th spot goes to Kyle Busch. Older brother Kurt in the 19th spot. J.J. Yaley will round out the top 20 tonight as 21st place. That will go to Kevin Harvick in the number 20. Matt Kenseth will be in the 22nd spot. 23rd, Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart in the 24th position. Marcos Ambrose will be P25 as 26 goes to Brad Keselowski. 27th will be Scott Wimmer and Greg Biffle in the 28th spot. 29th, Casey Kane. AJ Allmendinger will be in the 30th position. Juan Pablo Montoya, P31, as Jeremy Mayfield will start in the 32nd spot. Jamie Murray, last week's winner, he'll be 33rd. Well, 2 weeks ago, I should say. Casey Atwood in the 34th spot. 35th goes to Todd Bodine. And Jason Leffel will be in the 36th position. 37th, that'll be Jack Sprague. And TJ Bell in the 38th spot. Ron Hornaday Jr., P39. As Ricky Hendrick will sit in 40th. And rounding out the field in the back row, it'll be Jeff Burton in the 8th. And Brian Vickers in the 44 to round out your field here tonight. 42-car field as always. Give me just a minute setting up some broadcast widgets here. And I don't think that's going to work anyway since I had the game open anyway, so we're going to be without the ticker for tonight, but nonetheless, going to get you started here from Kansas, race number 17 out of 36, as we take you to the racetrack for the most famous words in motorsports, the Command, here from the Tropicana 400. Field roars to life as we get set to go, as Andretti and Johnson will lead us off to start here tonight with the 21 car on pole. Of course, it's a bit of a somber weekend. We've had a couple of incidents in the Busch Series over the last couple weeks that have taken some very young and promising drivers from us over the last couple of weeks. We had one at Michigan that did not go mention. That race got canceled as Ashton Lewis Jr. passed away in an accident in that race. And just last weekend on Saturday night, we lost. It was David Stremme in the 26 car driving for Carroll Motorsports that was involved in an accident in Turn 1. A couple of races that were canceled in the Cup Series. We'll be visiting Michigan 2 times later in the year in a doubleheader to make up for the fact that that weekend got canceled. And later on in the season, might not be going to Kentucky. That one's still up in the air, but that race could potentially see a replacement race that weekend. But nonetheless, here at Kansas, as Andretti and Johnson Fields got to soldier on. It's an 81-lap event here tonight in the Tropicana 400. A lot of speed, a lot of close racing you would expect to see at this racetrack. Kansas is always a fun visit in the Cup Series, and we're going to see these guys go at it once again. As the 21 and 48 sit on the front row, pace car going to peel off on the left. And the Wood Brothers Ford, for the first time in quite a while, is going to lead us to the green flag. Andretti on pole, waiting for the flagger, and we are underway here from the Tropicana 400 as we race off towards turn number 1. Out of turn 4 for the first time here tonight as Andretti really made it stick on that outer line. Drove it around Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 88 to hold on to the lead from the pole. Jr. had a nose ahead down the backstretch, but Andretti better brakes on the outer line, and he holds on to first. Top 3 breakaway as the field sprawls out behind them. Seeing a lot of 3 wide in the mid-pack. Casey Mears was up the middle of 3 wide back there. DJ Kennington takes over the 4th spot. As meanwhile, up front, man, Andretti threw a big block on Johnson to keep the 48 behind him going towards turn 1. Kennington underneath of the 88 of Earnhardt Jr. That's for the 3rd spot. Might even get all the way up to Johnson, and he will as he rockets past the 48 on the low line. Kennington, a winner at this track last year. It was this very race. He went to victory lane, and now already into the 2nd position. Got a good hold on this racetrack as he sits behind Andretti. And he's going to dive underneath going into turn 1, looking for the lead. Andretti trying to hang tight on that outside line, but not going to be able to keep the throttle in it. And DJ Kennington down the backstretch is going to take away the lead. Junior trying to follow down low in the 88. Side by side for the 2nd position. You're going to see that outside that really likes to work in 3 and 4. Pays dividends as Andretti clears on that outside line. Johnson putting pressure on him. Junior trying to get back down there, and he does. Got a little squirrely. His teammate behind him also a little bit loose. Still side by side for the 2nd spot. But Andretti on that outer line is going to hold on to the runner-up position as he pulls up to the back bumper of Kennington. Might be about to try and challenge for this lead. And underneath he goes. Johnson almost took it 3 wide. Kennington really drove it in on the top. I think Andretti had to get defensive with the 48. And that allows Kennington to retain the race lead. Teammates still side by side for the 4th spot, Earnhardt Jr. and Ryan Newman. You seem to have brought some quick race cars here tonight. As Johnson again going to try for the second spot. Andretti up top, Johnson on the bottom. And he's going to get clear of the 21. Seen a lot of that at this racetrack over the last season or so, that outside off of turn 2 really does not like to work. It's a lot better to run higher in 3 and 4. And the caution flag is out, and they are wrecking in turns 1 and 2. It's Matt Kenseth, as well as Casey Kane's number 12. And Scott Wimmer also got a piece of that one as they were in the outside. Well, actually, excuse me, that was in turns 3 and 4. So, caution flag comes out. And we have ourselves an incident involving Kenseth, Kane, and the 23 of Wimmer. So we get a replay of this accident going into turn 3. Ooh, it was Wimmer who got into the back of the 12 and helped them into the outside wall. Yeah, just contact there. Kane had to enter really shallow on the bottom of 3 wide, and looks like Wimmer wasn't anticipating that and just got down into the right rear of that 12 car of Kane and drove them all into the wall. So an early incident. Well, lap number 8 brings out the first caution of the night. Whole field going to come down pit road here. And DJ Kennington leads the field into pit road as we take our first round of pit stops here from Kansas. Would expect to see mostly 4 tires and fuel. Might have a couple cars take 2. And you see Kurt Busch, Eric Norris, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be the winner off of pit road, taking 2 tires. Sadler looking like he's going to be second. It was 3rd and 4th. Boyer and Norris pretty close. Rudiman jumps into the top 5, and this order jumbles itself up a little bit as we see some of these guys take 2 tires. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, one of the cars to take 2, and he steals away the lead. So we'll go to intermission here from Kansas as Dale Earnhardt Jr. takes away the race lead with the 2-tire stop. Lap number 9 here from the Tropicana 400. It's NASCAR on ESPN, and we will be right back. Back from intermission here at Kansas as we get set to go green. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on 2 tires, the race leader, as Sadler, Norris, Boyer, and Rudiman round out the top 5. First car on 4 is the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, if I am not mistaken. Kennington also on 4 tires. Seeing this order jumble up just a little bit. Andretti dropped a couple of spots on that pit cycle there, but he's on 4 tires as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to lead the field to the green flag here. Going to see if there's much of a difference. Only a couple of laps on those tires. Finished 8 laps under green. But the 88 will hold first. Him and Sadler out front. Pace car going to peel in on the left as we head towards the restart box. And we are back green. A great start for the top 2 as Earnhardt Jr. and Sadler both got away very well. Norris kind of caught sleeping a little bit. Boyer took a look on him. Johnson's going to be the first car out of line on the bottom of Kurt Busch, another car on 2 tires. Side by side for the 3rd spot. Johnson side by side with Kurt Busch for P6. Not really making much happen down there as Rudiman really did not have a good run on the bottom. Kurt Busch got a great corner on that outside line. He moved past the 98 on the top. Norris and Boyer still side by side in front of him. Johnson moves past Rudiman on the inside line. Boyer trying to go all the way to second here as he takes a look on Sadler going into turn 3, and he got there. Johnson trying to take it 3 wide on the bottom. 3 deep behind the 4 in the 83. This is for the 4th position as Johnson looking to make a quick move forward. And he is going to get in front of the 51 at least. Might get this 0-1-2. Though Boyer really did not have a good corner on the bottom. But they stay even with Kurt Busch out of turn 2. Down the backstretch. Earnhardt Jr. pulling away. Johnson again trying to go 3 wide on the bottom. Almost made contact with Boyer. His 4 car managed to stay in front of him. Still side by side for this second spot between the 4 and the 83. These two have been deadlocked the last couple laps since the restart. Side by side. Sadler trying to find that run on the outside line. Managed to make it stick. And Boyer's going to jump up to the top. Kurt Busch way out of line on the outside, trying to find some grip all the way up top. Boyer stays in front of the 48 now, trying to go around the outside of Sadler for the second position. Couldn't quite find the nose. Johnson still on the bottom of that 4. Sadler really washing out wide out of turn 2. Johnson is going to clear Clint Boyer. Maybe not. Boyer trying to hang with him on that top. But not able to stay there. Johnson into 3rd. Now sets his sights on Sadler as Earnhardt Jr. still comfortably out front right now, but got the first car on 4 tires right behind now as Johnson clears Elliott Sadler and has a big run on Jr. out of turn 2. Down the backstretch and towards turn 3, Johnson not close enough to make a dive bomb going into 3. Next car on 4 is DJ Kennington, who has had significantly less fortune trying to cut through the field. Just move into the 6th position ahead of Kyle Busch as Boyer, and man, Kurt Busch drove it up the inside of 3 wide. What a move by that 01. He takes away the 3rd position now. Kennington follows him. See Robbie Gordon up the inside of 3 deep back there. See Kenza still with some residual damage. Casey Kane also missing the front of his race car. And meanwhile, for the lead, Jimmy Johnson, 4 tires, moves into 1st past Dale Earnhardt Jr. Not much defense from the 88 there. Kennington trying to chase after that 48 car. Still having a tough job working past that 83 of Sadler. And the 83 really powering around that outside, and now he's under fire from the part-time number 02 car. That is Justin Allgaier, who is making a start here at Kansas and is having a fantastic run. Best run we've seen out of him so far this season. Running in the top 10. Oh, and Martin Truex Jr. back there blowing up. And contact as they're going to wreck behind. And this is a big collection as Ryan Newman climbs the outside wall. Hard hits. Kenseth couldn't get around it, and we are under caution. And that was a big crash in turn number 1. Jimmy Johnson leads the field back to the 2nd caution of the night, and that was a big, big crash. Nowhere for a lot of cars to go, as it was Ryan Newman who just climbed the outside wall. But to start the wreck, it was his teammate Martin Truex Jr., whose engine he just grenaded on the front stretch and was trying to get down to the bottom out of everyone's way, and Bobby East ended up following him down there. Couldn't see through the billowing smoke, and this turned into a big collection. And Ryan Newman, man, took a hard hit to the outside wall. I've never seen a race car climb the outside wall like that. Stayed out of the catch fence. And Casey Kane delivered a hard hit to the back of Brian Vickers there, too, as he slid down into the traffic. Man, Newman drove away from that crash, too, after climbing that outside wall. But we are under yellow flag, and the field brings it down pit road on lap number 23. Might see some more two-tire stops here. .42 car of Tony Stewart was one of them. Keselowski took 2 tires as well, but mostly everybody else on 4. And Johnson will retain the lead out of pit road. So a lot of cars out after a big crash there just inside the 20th lap. We'll take it to intermission once again. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson in the race lead here from Kansas, and we will be right back here on NASCAR on ESPN. Back from intermission here at Kansas as we get set to go green this next time by. Jimmy Johnson going to be the race leader, about 7 or 8 cars out of the race in that collection in turn 1. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be in the 2nd position, Kurt Busch in 3rd, 4th belongs to Tony Stewart, and Elliott Sadler will round out the top 5. Justin Allgaier got a bit of damage on pit road, if I am not mistaken. He's in the top 5 at the moment, but was involved in a collision leaving the pits. Yeah, I believe he clipped the 98 of Rudiman on his way out, and he did. So a bit of damage on that 0-2, sits in that 5th position. Field jumbles up a little bit more. Getting set to go green here. Lap number 26 on the restart for Jimmy Johnson, who sits in the lead. All of these guys, except for Stewart, on 4 tires. 2 of Brad Keselowski further back in the field. Also believe he took 2, although he might have actually just been out of the race. I believe he was. But nonetheless, green flag is in the air, and Jimmy Johnson out of a cannon on the restart, and he has got a 3-4 car length lead going into turn 1. Out of turn 2 and down the back stretch. Kennington trying to go up the inside of 3 wide there. Couldn't make it stick all the way on the bottom. But Junior, a big run out of turn 4. And he's going to look to the inside on the front stretch. Johnson tried to block it, but could not get the lane. And here comes Earnhardt Jr. And issues for the 54. Just had a tire go down. Didn't hold anybody up. Got it to the apron. Looking like we're going to stay green here as that thing is staying together. Looking like he'll be able to limp it back to the pits, but a rough break for Mayfield. Earnhardt Jr., meanwhile, couldn't make the move stick for the lead. And Johnson flew away from the rest of the field there. Now has a solid gap as teammates fighting for the 2nd position. Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart side by side for 2nd. And Stewart, one of the only cars on 2 tires. In fact, I believe he is the only car in the field on 2 tires still. Takes away 2nd place. Earnhardt Jr. underneath of his teammate Kurt Busch. As Mayfield made it back to pit lane. Side by side still for the 2nd spot. And Kurt Busch will prevail on that outside lane. It is a big gap for this 48 right now. as they are still duking it out for the second position. Earnhardt Jr. now underneath of the 01, but Kurt Busch going to power on that outside, and he'll stay in front of him. Jr. still side by side with younger brother Kyle Busch for the third position. Kennington a member of this battle as well. And he will just squeak past that 43, and Junior going to have to leave the bottom open for the 81, who looks for third. Kurt Busch into the second spot and running away from this battle behind him. Johnson comfortably out front in that 48 car right now. Trying to extend that lead. And this 48 team has just looked a lot more like themselves over the last couple weeks. Johnson has really shown a lot of speed over his last few events that he really hadn't had over the rest of the year. The only Hendrick car that had really shown any promise over the course of the season was a 24 of Jeff Gordon, who had already collected a win earlier in the year. But Johnson has really had a lot of pace over these last few weeks. Obviously collected his first win of the season not too long ago. Been off to a great run lately. Second place, Kurt Busch, who has really fallen a long, long way back in the point standings over the course of this year. Has 2 wins on the season, but it's been a rough middle portion of the season for him. And entering this week, he sits 17th in the standings. Lowest Ganassi car in that garage. And for Busch, who just signed a contract extension with Chip Ganassi, said, I've got faith in this team. It's on me for not performing. And right now, performing at a racetrack he's familiar with, Kurt Busch has really been one of the fastest cars here at Kansas over the last couple of seasons. And once again, having another great run here tonight, sitting in the top 5. And right behind him, battling for that second position with him, is current points leader DJ Kennington, who is having exactly as good of a first full season in the Cup Series as everyone expected. 3 wins on the year, has 9 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and currently has the second best average finish in the Cup Series garage this year. 6 points in front of Tony Stewart, who has had a fantastic season in that 42 car for the early championship lead as we approach the halfway mark in this season. Speaking of that 42, who is the only other car, or the only car in this entire field on 2 tires, has started to fall backwards just a little bit. Battling with Eric Norris and Scott Riggs in the 57, takes it 3 wide up the inside. This is for the 11th spot. And Riggs, with a masterful move up the inside, moves past everybody. But Norris going to try to dive underneath of him. Didn't quite get there. Another driver worth shouting out up in this front group is Casey Mears, who is having yet another fabulous run. Another one of those underrated young drivers. We mentioned Mears quite a lot lately. He's only 19th in points, but has had these standout runs really go his way. It's been a pretty good season for that 55, and a lot of contact in front of him between Robbie Gordon and Kevin Harvick, ex-teammates who just got into each other. You saw Harvick trade paint with the 31 out of turn 2. As they sit behind Justin Allgaier, who we already mentioned is having a great run here today. Has some damage on that left rear thanks to the contact leaving pit road, but none the worse for it. He's had a very great run, and that damage doesn't seem to be weighing him down at all, as Kennington can move into the second position ahead of Kurt Busch. Now with his sights set on that 48 for the race lead, Kennington been one of the better cars in today's race. as we approach halfway here tonight. And man, what a corner by DJ Kennington. Johnson got a little bit tight there out of turn 2. Had to come out of the throttle while Kennington nailed it at the same time. Johnson going to have a chance to defend on that outside line, but is not going to be able to make it stick. DJ Kennington back to the race lead. Right at that halfway mark. Johnson tried to give a look on the outside going into turn 1, but not going to be able to close that gap. And Kennington starting to pull away from that Lowe's Chevrolet just a little bit as he gets smaller in the windshield of Jimmy Johnson. Kurt Busch and younger brother Kyle battling for the 3rd spot. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 88 rounds out the top 5 behind them. Kevin Harvick has slowly begun climbing the order in the later half of this run. But just past halfway here from Kansas, NASCAR on ESPN. We're going to take you to NASCAR Crank It Up. Take a listen to the engines and nothing more. Just past halfway here in the Tropicana 400. That was the McDonald's visor cam, courtesy of Carl Edwards and his number 19 Joe Gibbs team. Just past halfway, as previously mentioned. Sitting up front as Kennington was under fire from Johnson for just a little bit there, but able to hold him off and continues to try and pull that gap on the 48 car as this race continues to wind away. Kurt Busch still in the 3rd position, Kyle Busch in 4th, and Dale Jr. still holding off Kevin Harvick for 5th as these guys have been battling hard behind the race leaders. Earnhardt Jr. again trying to find a way underneath of Kyle Busch for the 4th spot. Unable to make that move stick. Worth mentioning, checking up on that 42 car of Tony Stewart. 21st position for the Bass Pro Shops Dodge, as that 2-tire call really does not seem to be working out for Stewart at all. They've gone green quite a long time. Nobody failing to meet minimum speed on the racetrack. But Johnson has closed back up to the back bumper of Kennington over the last couple laps, trying to make a move into turn 3. And he at least has a nose down there to see if Kennington can take that top side to his advantage. And he does exactly that. Once more, masterful defense from the 81. Him and Johnson a long, long way out in front of Kurt Busch, who sits in third. And you start thinking about the point where these drivers get to the point where they think about the win. Kennington looking for his 4th win of the season. Jimmy Johnson 4th in points, looking for his 2nd. But Johnson is going to bring it to pit road, try and shortcut the 81 car as we see pit stops under green flag conditions here. In fact, Johnson doing something he's done quite a lot of over the last couple seasons, pitting earlier than everybody else in the front group, and he was on pit road very early there. Kennington not going to pit in yet from the looks of things. Looking to go long on this run. And everybody else in this front group still on the racetrack themselves. Can't be long for this racetrack now. Inside 30 laps to go, and Kennington is going to bring it down pit road with 30 to go, coming to 29. See if anybody elects to stay out here. Looking like the entirety of the top 10 is going to pit in here. They were the only cars remaining on the racetrack. So Kennington coming in from the race lead. And would like to check back on when we went green last for a reference on how long this pit window is. We were on pit road just about 30 laps ago, so it is pretty tight on fuel for these guys. Kennington is away. See where he shakes out in comparison to that 48 car. Unsurprisingly, Justin Allgaier took some damage repairs, and also unsurprisingly, Jimmy Johnson's shortcut works out for him, and the 48 is right back into the lead of this race. And he has a pretty sizable margin on that 81 car. There you see the gap, maybe 15 car lengths between him and Kennington, as the 48 really pulled off that shortcut nice, but he's going to be a little tighter on fuel here, and Kennington will be better on tires later in the run as well. He's got 30 laps to try and run down that 48. Should be the last pit stop for everybody who came in on that late cycle. And I would imagine everybody should be good on fuel, but the question will hang in the air of if Johnson specifically can make it to the end of this race. And there you see Mayfield off cycle coming in later with his tire issue earlier in the race. And DJ Kennington, not what he wants to have happen. His teammate, Kevin Harvick, getting up in his business for this second spot. And the 20 car, who has continued his mid-race charge through the field, has moved up into second, though Kennington not letting him off the hook easy. Trying to power around that outside, but from the looks of things, Harvick is going to have this move made. And he does. Kevin Harvick into second in front of his teammate. So Harvick going to be the next to try and run down this 48 for first. Johnson's got a sizable lead. It's a 2-second margin between him and Kevin Harvick, who now sits in the second position. Harvick's got the better tires for the long run, though Harvick was a lap earlier than Kennington, if I'm not mistaken. I think Kurt Busch was on the same cycle as that 81, who has just dropped behind Kurt Busch, who moves into the third position. Approaching 20 laps to go. Harvick is gaining quite a lot of time. He ran his best lap of the race last time by. Him and Kurt Busch were identical on lap time, 32.54, while Johnson was in the 36s. Better time from Johnson that time, gained some time back. Kurt Busch ran another 30.254. Putting the pressure on Kevin Harvick for the second spot. Harvick had a great 3 and 4 that last time. Gained yet more time, about 3/10 on that 48. As there you see the gap. .48 and 20, about a second and a half apart, as Harvick, who has really just charged through this field late in this race, trying to find his way up towards the front. Got a long way to go to get back up to Johnson for the lead, but he's got 20 laps and has been running a couple of tenths better per, and was well above half a second better that last time. And the gap falls to within a second for the race lead. And you see that gap visually shrinking as Johnson has started to show up on the outskirts of shots by our camera crew focusing on Harvick. And another near half a second chopped off of the lead of the 48. They've been battling for third behind this 20 as Kennington and Kurt Busch have traded that spot a couple times. Down to 3/10 as the gap is pretty much irrelevant now. You can see how close these guys are together as they approach the end of this race. Johnson out of throttle, getting a little tight out of turn 2, allows Harvick to close in some more. And now he is there. Kevin Harvick on the back bumper of Jimmy Johnson, looking for this race lead, and he is going to jump to the bottom on the front stretch for first. 20 and 48 side by side for the race lead. Going into turn 1. Johnson really found some grip on the outside of 2, something we haven't seen a lot of these guys be able to pull off. But Harvick stayed there on the inside, but Johnson powers back past him on the top to hold first. But Harvick, once again, another fabulous 3 and 4 to get back to his inside on the front stretch. Side by side. Down into turn 1 again. Johnson really making that top side work. But Harvick gets another run on corner exit. Does he get to the bottom this time? Kurt Busch is closing up from third and Kennington fourth. And here comes Kurt Busch on the bottom. And suddenly it is a 4-horse race for this lead. Harvick going to have to look to the outside. Busch on the bottom for second. But Harvick closes the door, at least for the moment, but he got a little squirrely on the top. Now you see Busch's pressure allowing Johnson to breathe just a little bit, and Harvick again having to go to the outside as Kurt Busch jumps to the bottom. But another run by that 20 on the 48. Harvick going to try to go to the outside once more, and again Johnson able to cover him. And you got to imagine Harvick's just thinking, what do I got to do to get this 48? Got the 01 and his teammate Kennington up his back bumper as Busch really struggled there in 1 and 2. That allows Kennington to go by on the top. And Harvick now with a little bit of breathing room. Johnson's got some as well. Got to regroup and find a way around that 48. Johnson was clearly not the fastest car on that run, but caught a break as Kurt Busch really put some pressure on Harvick. It might have burned up his tires a little bit too, having to run that outside to hold off that target dodge. Harvick on the back bumper of the 48 through turns 3 and 4. Once again, this spot of the racetrack that he's been better all day long. And he's going to try to pull to the bottom. Johnson trying to cover him, couldn't do it. Harvick once again to the bottom towards turn 1, and this time throws it in on corner entry to clear the 48. But Johnson had a great exit to try and counterattack down the backstretch. Side by side for the race lead. This battle absolutely raging on, and Johnson on the bottom, Harvick on the top. Johnson still able to hold on to the lead, and now here comes DJ Kennington. Does he make something happen for first? Down to the bottom in turn 1. But Johnson drove it in the second half of the first corner to hold on to the lead, but Kennington has got past his teammate for first and drives it in to close to the back bumper of Johnson, who looks to cover on that inside line. Harvick trying to power around the outside. Kennington trying to find a way around his 48 car up front as his teammate knocks at his door behind. 10 laps to go. Down off of turn 2. Johnson, a great exit, keeps Kennington at bay. Harvick couldn't close on his teammate. Down towards the front stretch as Kennington really did not have a good corner there. That's going to open the door for Harvick. Kurt Busch might take it 3 wide. He's going to think better of it. Harvick moves into the second spot, and again, Johnson. Man, Kennington drove it in turn 2 to try and stay with his teammate, but I think Harvick's going to have him going towards turn 3. And he will, so Harvick once again to the second position. And what a corner he has going up to the back bumper of the 48. Another challenger for first. Still, nobody's been able to lead a lap over this 48 on this run. Harvick once again going to try and take over the lead. Johnson looking to hang tight on that outside like he's done this entire run, but could not stay in the gas. Harvick taking over the lead. Kennington looking at the bottom against his teammate. Could not get there. Johnson way sideways into turn 3. But he put together a monster run. Kennington trying to block him in. And he will, as Johnson couldn't take it anywhere. Harvick holds on to first, and he is now the new race leader. But Kennington had a huge run out of turn 2, and he leaves the 20 in the dust. Harvick got way sideways out of turn 2, and DJ Kennington moves back into the race lead. Harvick had a big run out of turn 4 that time, closing all the way up to his teammate. Going to go back to the inside, and he drove it into turn 1 to stay with the 81 car. But Kennington powers around on the outside and managed to stay in the throttle. It's been one of the big trouble spots for that outside line, and he manages to hold on to the lead. Harvick second, Johnson third. And a couple of cars on pit road. You see the 13 of Marcos Ambrose came in. So that fuel mileage might have had more foundation than we might have expected. Johnson getting passed by Kurt Busch. As the 01 moves into third, everybody's still on the racetrack. 60 of Bobby East comes in. Kennington still out here in the lead. Top four still on the racetrack. The first to pit would be Johnson and then Harvick. 48 was in the earliest of the top runners. Does he or any of these drivers have enough fuel to make it to the end of this race? We are inside the final 5 laps now. It's 4 coming to 3 to go. Johnson and Harvick are not going to have enough fuel to make it. Kennington and Kurt Busch stay on the racetrack. 3 laps to go. Does anyone have enough fuel to make it is now the question. Kennington leading this race down in to turn number 3 as he stays out. Kyle Busch does not have enough fuel to make it. He will pit. So does Robbie Gordon. Kennington and Kurt Busch still on the racetrack. Do they make it around to this white flag? Do they have enough fuel? Kennington into turn 3. Kurt Busch right behind him. They will stay on the racetrack. Question is if they make it around. 1 lap to go here from Kansas for DJ Kennington. Kennington a little slow out of turn 2, but he does get back to the gas, just trying to make it all the way around. Kurt Busch right in his mirror. This is the battle for the win out of turn 4. Kurt Busch is not going to be able to get there. Out of 4, DJ Kennington outduels everybody. The points leader takes his 4th win of the season. Kurt Busch comes up in 2nd place. 3rd is going to belong to Dale Earnhardt Jr. as Scott Riggs rounds out the top 5 with Casey Atwood in P5 in the 30 car. What a topsy-turvy way for this race to end. As Eric Norris rounded out the top 10. You saw him there. Great run for a lot of underdogs, but DJ Kennington had the lead on pace anyway, and he has enough fuel to make it as he is going to be your winner here in Kansas. A fantastic duel for the win all the way to the end of this race between that top 4. Kennington, Busch, Harvick, and Johnson. 2 of them ran out of fuel, but DJ Kennington is going to come home to take the win. His 4th victory of the season. That will do it for coverage here from Kansas as DJ Kennington concludes the race with a win as he takes home yet another trophy with 2007 on the plaque as he is your winner here tonight. Next week, we take to Loudon as it will be the New England 300 for race number 18 of the season as the Busch Series will head to Montreal for the Castrol 250. But that will do it for coverage, as we will see you then. It's been NASCAR on ESPN, the Tropicana 400. I've been your host, Caden Reif. It's been a pleasure to have you along as always, and we will see you next time. And as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.